We've got a huge week of games to talk about, a lot of them with region title and playoff implications on the line. All of this coming up now on Gridiron Central. Welcome to the Gridiron Central Preview Show. I'm your host, Jim Alred. Beside me, as always, Matt Davis, the voice of high school football for 95.7 The Ridge. Fist bump, explosion, big week to talk about. We're going to jump right in. We start Armurchie at Chattooga. Both of these teams 1-1 in Region 7AA. Overall records, well, not so good, but you know what? It doesn't matter. It's all about region in this one. Chattooga's homecoming. Both defenses have looked good. Both offenses have sputtered at times. They've both beaten Murray County. Matt, who wins this one?
Oh, yeah, you just mentioned it. The thing that you notice first about this matchup is the similarities between these teams. Both teams struggle finishing drives except for against Murray County. Both teams have given up their share of points on defense, although their defensive side of the ball I think has been better than the offense. Both teams are very young. I think that's a key situation that they're both having to deal with, and they are both very tenacious in terms of playing until the bitter end. And I think that last part is what makes this matchup particularly interesting. But when I look at both of the teams, I think that the glaring difference for me is the diversity that I think Chattooga has on Armurchie in terms of their offense. I think they're able to do a little bit more there. Armurchie is one of those teams that falls into the one-dimensional category. They're going to run the ball at you, ground and pound, and hope for something good to happen. But the problem that I saw against Model when I saw them play a couple of weeks ago is if they get in a third and long situation, there's really not much they can do because they're not able to put the ball in the air, and they're not the kind of team that can pick up, an 8 or a 10-yard play or something like that. And so I think that's the reason why Chattooga is going to have the edge in this game. I think they're going to have a little bit more opportunity for explosiveness on offense. And so even though I think it's going to be a close battle, I think at the end of the day, particularly this game being on the road, that the Chattooga Indians will win.
And that's interesting to me because I look at this game and I kind of see it a little bit differently. I saw Chattooga play Model. I have not personally seen Armurchie play. I've seen them on film, and I just look at it, and I felt like Armurchie gave Model a much closer game than Chattooga did. I feel like I look at this, and what I worry about is when you're going up against an option attack like Armurchie's, yes, it may not be the best in the world, but it takes a lot of discipline to defend that. I don't know if Chattooga has that discipline. I'm not saying they're undisciplined, but I look at both of these teams. Look, I think this is going to be a very close game. Both of these teams think, hey, and they know, if we win this game and can put together a couple more wins, we can sneak into the playoffs. Is it possible? Yes. Is it going to happen? Who knows? It would not surprise me. I think it's going to be a very close game. It would not surprise me if this comes down to late in the fourth quarter or even goes overtime. I'm going to go with Armurchie. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. I think the triple option is going to be there. I think it's just going to be just enough to beat Chattooga. I go with the Armurchie Indians in this one. Moving on, I doubt we'll have a difference in opinion on this one. Maybe so. Maybe he'll pick Purple. I doubt it. Calhoun is at Purple. We know about Calhoun. Sing along with me. Hasn't lost a region game since, 2001, since the dinosaurs roamed the earth, that kind of stuff. Look, Purple lost a double overtime game today 2 weeks ago. Everybody in 7AA had a bye week last week. Calhoun has looked very strong against 7AA opponents. Matt, do the Dragons have a chance?
I really don't think they do. I don't think this Calhoun team is quite as prolific on offense as they have been the last 10 years or so, but they are still a very good football team. And in my mind, any team in 7AA that beats Calhoun, that's going to be considered a really big upset. I don't care what team it is. I don't think this is going to be the week that Calhoun is knocked off its pedestal in 7AA football. I think they pick up the win, and it also sets up an interesting situation for the Pepperell Dragons. This would be their 5th loss of the season. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're right.
And if they go through the rest of the season and don't win out, it would be the first time since 2003 that the Pepperell Dragons have a losing season. So that is something that they really want to avoid. And when you look at their schedule, they still have some tough matchups to come. Yeah. So I think there's a team in 7AA other than Calhoun down the stretch of their schedule that has an opportunity to beat Pepperell. So I'm not foreshadowing a losing season for Pepperell, but you got to know that's got to be at least in the back of their minds, and part of their motivation in every game moving forward is, hey, we don't want to end up having the first losing season since 2003. So I think Pepperell's going to play some good football as they go along. I just don't think they've quite got the horses to get it done against Calhoun.
Well, I'm going to agree with you there. And my thing with this is it would not surprise me one bit to hear that this game is close at halftime. I think some people have been able to play Calhoun close to halftime. The big thing I see with Pepperell, the defense is quite good. The offense is still a work in progress. Pepperell's got to, they've got to be able to score points. With Calhoun, I've mentioned this year that it reminds me of the 2008 Calhoun team, but flip the roles a little bit. The 2008 Calhoun team, very good offense. The defense, had its moments. Flip the role reversal this year. I think Calhoun's defense is quite good. The offense is still a work in progress. Good enough to put enough points to beat Pepperell. Good enough to probably win out until the playoffs. Calhoun wins this game. Pepperell may have a losing season, but even if they have a losing season, I still think they're in the playoffs. But the loss to Dade last week really throws this region into kind of a tailspin. I picked Calhoun, and now we move into the game that is very, very interesting because Dade County travels to Coosa. Dade is 1-1 in the region. Coosa is 0-2, having lost to Pepperell and Calhoun. At this point, Dade controls its own destiny. If the Wolverines win out region games, they're your number 2 seed. Coosa, who I have been on the bandwagon for since before the season started, if they lose this game to Dade County, the number 3 or number 4 seed is about the best they can hope for. Coosa's homecoming, is that enough? Is Coosa going to be able to, it's not Coosa's homecoming, but is that going to be enough for Coosa to beat Dade?
I don't know, man. This one is one of the tougher ones, I think, to pick. A couple of things that, you pointed out, obviously, the 2 overtime win over Pepperell, but another game that caught my attention looking at Dade County's schedule, believe it or not, was the North Murray game, because I had an opportunity to see North Murray play up against Adairsville last week at Adairsville, and they are a much better football team than their record would indicate. As a matter of fact, I would put that North Murray team up against pretty much most teams in 7AA, barring Calhoun, and give them a shot to win that game. I mean, they have got some pretty good offense. Their defense, a little shaky at times, but they're a competitive football team, and it was obvious in that game because more or less it went down to the fourth quarter. And so with that said, the fact that Dade County was able to beat them, was able to beat Pepperell, I think this is a pretty solid football team. Coosa has a lot of talent on their team in terms of offensive weapons, but we've yet to see them have that breakout game yet. Yeah. Maybe this is going to be that time. I'm not sure, but I think the more solid pick in this game, believe it or not, is Dade County going in, and so I'm going in that direction. But I'm hoping that this is going to be the breakout game for Coosa's offense, and they're going to score a lot of points, but we'll see what happens.
So who did you just pick?
I picked Dade County.
Wow, I didn't know Matt hated Coosa so much.
I don't hate Coosa. I love Coosa, and I hope they win this game. And
I was wrong. I believe it is Coosa's homecoming. I'm waffling on whether it is or not. I'm pretty sure it is. Look, this is the way I see Dade County. Dade County has a good defense. Dade County, not much on offense. Coosa, we know they have an offense. The biggest Achilles heel for Coosa, turning the ball over. 4 or 5 turnovers against Pepperell, against Rockmart, similar things. Look, Coosa has good special teams. Defense is pretty darn good. They have to keep away, get rid of the mistakes. And right now you look at Coosa, and we've said this about Coosa teams for several years. Every year it's like, this team looks like it could be there. This is their measuring stick game. If Coosa wants to say, hey, we're in the thick of the playoffs, we're in the thick of the region title, not region race for the number 2 spot, or even they're out for the number 1 spot, but for the number 2 spot, they have to win. If the crowd is out there, if Coosa can eliminate mistakes, I really like Coosa in this game. I believe if Dade had played Pepperell at Pepperell, Pepperell wins by 7. I would say 10, but they can't kick field goals. So this one's at Coosa. If it was at Dade, I'd be going with Dade. It's not. It's at Coosa, homecoming crowd. Coosa puts it together, and there's going to be an all-out brawl for the number 2 spot in Region 7AA. Moving to Region 6A real quick, Darlington at Christian Heritage. The Tigers, the number 2 ranked power-ranked team in private school in Class A takes on Christian Heritage, who, unless I'm badly mistaken, is also ranked in the top 10. And just for those that follow the power rankings, there are 6 Class 6A teams in the top 12 of the private school power rankings. Talking about a rough region. Christian Heritage, only loss of the season was to Model. Darlington, only loss of the season to Cartersville. Obviously, much better loss for Darlington there than for Christian Heritage. Matt, can Christian Heritage derail the Tigers?
I don't know. This could be a pretty interesting matchup, although we thought last week or 2 weeks ago, I should say, the Darlington Trine game was going to be the game of the week. Everybody thought that was going to be a close game, and then here comes Darlington, and they absolutely blow them out. Now, they've got to go on the road to play this game. Christian Heritage, even though they lost to Model, it was a very close game against a 7AA team. But as you alluded to earlier, I think when you look at the 2 schedules for each team, that Darlington has definitely had the stronger schedule. As a matter of fact, the Murphy, North Carolina team that they played the first week of the season and blew off the field has only lost 1 other game this year so far. The rest of their season, they've been winning games. Now, I don't know if that is to say that particular classification in football in North Carolina is not very good this year, or what the case may be. But I still, when I look at the schedule, Darlington, they got beat by Cartersville. They've had to play Chattooga, even though Chattooga's struggling in 7AA. They're still a pretty decent football team. So I give strength of schedule to Darlington. I'm going to go with the Darlington Tigers, man. I think that coming into the season, we've said many times, life without Brad Butler is different, but it's not necessarily a bad situation for them. They just play a different kind of football than they used to. And I'm telling you, I believe in Logan Rice, and I believe in Darlington to play a very, very good football game and win. So I'm going with Darlington.
Yeah, I mean, in this one, and crazily enough, and I hate to say this, I don't think it's going to be close. I think Darlington is a much better team than Christian Heritage. The Darlington team that I have seen, I saw them blow out Trine. I saw them blow out Murphy, North Carolina. I saw them in the preseason against Pepperell. I look at that team, and what I see is a very opportunistic team. They take advantage of their chances, and when they have a chance to go for the jugular, they do. And that's one of the things I've said about Darlington the past couple of years is I felt like there were games where they could have won better, or they could have won where they just couldn't make that key play. This team has, to me, that special it factor. I think they have a chance to make a run. Obviously, the power rankings agree. If they can win the Region 6A title and keep that power ranking where it is, they will get a very nice seed in the playoffs. I think Darlington wins this one. It could be by 17, could be less, whatever, but Darlington wins. One last game before the commercial break. Call it a trap game. That's what I'm calling it. Murray County at Model. Murray County did get a win this season, but they're 0-2 in the region so far. Model 2-0 in the region. I've had several Model coaches remind me of that and saying, hey, yeah, we have a chance to win the region too. You're right, you do. Murray County 0-2, Model 2-0 in the region. 1 loss total this year. Matt, what do you think about this one?
I think Model's going to win this game. I think they're going to win it big. One of the things for Model is I've seen them play, and they're one of those teams that has a lot of weapons. They can do several different things on offense. They can run the ball pretty well. They've got a little bit of a passing game going, but I've never really seen them this year so far really start clicking. And so I don't think we've seen the best play that we're going to see this year from Model, at least hopefully. In the game against Almerchi, I felt like the better team won. But with that said, Model in the second half, they started the half by turning the ball over 3 times. And those mistakes, they come back to haunt you sometimes. And I know that the coaching staff had to be extremely frustrated with the way that game went because, quite frankly, I think Model should have probably won that game by a larger margin than they ended up beating Almerchi. Even though Almerchi, you got to give them kudos for hanging in there and just playing a really strong game throughout. And it's been close the last couple of years. I'm going with Model in this game. This is Murray County. Yeah, Murray County picked up 1 win against Gordon Central, but Gordon Central has not won a game this year. They are where Murray County's been the last couple of years this season. So I'm going with Model. I think they'll win by 40 points.
You know what? I don't know if they're going to win by 40 points. I think Murray County is going to keep it a lot closer than we think. And the other thing I look ahead, and I hope Model's not looking ahead to next week in the matchup against Pepperell, because I know how big that game's going to be for Model. Murray County, I think, is better than what you've seen the last 2 weeks. I don't think they're good enough, they are good enough to beat Model. Let me say that. They are good enough to beat Model if Model makes the kind of mistakes they've made the past couple of weeks, not last week, but the previous 2. And all teams make mistakes. The way I look at it is this. Model should win this game. They're going to win this game, but it will not surprise me one bit if Murray makes this close. Right after the commercial break, we're going to talk about some other key games, including Rome's huge Region 5 5A matchup. Stick around.
Begin your future at Georgia Northwestern Technical College. We offer degrees, diplomas, and certificates in over 200 programs of study. Choose a career in business, health, industrial, or public service. With the flexibility of day, evening, and online classes at any of our 5 campus locations, getting your education at GNTC has never been more convenient. There are many financial aid options available, including student loans. Apply now. Georgia Northwestern Technical College. Your college, your town, your future.
Welcome back to the show. We teased it before the commercial break. Now we talk about it. Region 5-5A, North Paulding at Rome. You know, I can't overstate the importance of this game. Right now, there is a 4-way tie for first place in Region 5-5A. Unfortunately, Rome's not in that tie. They have 2 losses. North Paulding is in that tie. Rome is in 5th place. Huge game. Last year, Rome had to have some late heroics to win this game. I believe it was a game that knocked North Paulding out of the playoffs, put Rome into the playoffs. Obviously, you know North Paulding's going to want revenge. They've had a great season so far. Matt, can Rome pull the win homecoming at Barron Stadium?
Well, you know, last year this game was an absolute shootout, and I think you're probably going to see a similar game in this one. But when I look at the teams, you know, North Paulding, they've had a good year. It appears that they've had a little bit more defense than Rome has been able to do this year so far. And not to mention, I think their offense has been a little bit more prolific. The thing that I think Rome really has in their corner going into this week is they're playing this game at home. And I think that in some ways, you know, gives them a slight edge. But for some reason, I've got a hunch that North Paulding is really going to be, you know, chomping at the bit in this game. Is going to play an extremely aggressive game, trying to force turnovers. It's going to be a crazy game. Just mark my words on that. I think this game is going to be one of those games that people are talking about for a while. But at the end of the day, for some reason, I got to go with North Paulding.
You know, I mentioned this last week or the week before that in the month of October, the last 2 years, Rome is 6-2. It is 6-2 in the month of October. Look, this game's at Barron Stadium. So far, Rome is 0-2 this season at Barron Stadium. The Wolves know how important this game is. I saw them against Allatoona. I've seen them at practice a couple weeks ago, and the thing I take away from it is Rome knows this. Rome has an offense. They can pass the ball some, but they love to run it. They have the backs that if they get the ball in space, they can take it to the house anytime they touch it. The problem with Rome is twofold. Turnovers. Against Allatoona, 3 key turnovers led to 14 or 17 Allatoona points. I can't remember which. But the other problem, just as glaring to me, is not being able to get off the field on defense when they put the opposing team into 3rd and long. Allatoona made 2 huge 3rd and long plays in that game. That mixed with the turnovers was a difference in the ball game. Rome's defense has got to be able to get off the field, give the offense the ball as much as possible. I think of this, there should be a big crowd. It's homecoming. Rome, you know, it doesn't guarantee them a playoff with this win, but Rome, I think, is a playoff team. I look for Rome to win this game. I know earlier in the season I thought Rome, I even said Rome will miss the playoffs. Obviously, they lose this game, they have a very good chance of missing the playoffs, but I think this team is getting better. I think they are, I don't want to say they're much better than when I saw them against Allatoona. I'll be on the sidelines again Friday night. I expect to see a close game, I expect to see a big game, and I expect to see a Rome win. Covenant Christian at Unity Christian. The Lions had a bye week last week, and if they want to get the number 2 seed in the playoffs out of their region, this is a must-win game. Matt, can they beat Covenant at Ben Brady Field?
I think they can. The problem is Unity's had some injury situations this year that have really hurt them. I'm not sure the status on some of the players that they've been missing on there, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. They've just never been able to put it together on defense hardly at all this year. So obviously that is an area that they need to work on tremendously. But the offense, I think, in a way, has been part of the biggest disappointment for Unity because they felt like it was really there. And then you start having the injury situation, and it's been devastating to them. So this is a must-win game for them. They have to pick up a win. They're playing at home. They're in front of their home crowd. But at the same time, Unity, I've picked them all year. I don't know if I've picked against them yet. And I'm going to do it. And hopefully this will help them some way in the cosmos. I don't know. But I don't know. The way that things have gone for Unity, it's going to be hard for them to right the ship. So I'm going to go with Covenant in this game.
Yeah, I talked to Joe Curtis on Tuesday. And was it today? Wednesday? Yeah, I talked to Joe Curtis on Tuesday. And he was positive. He was positive, and he was, there was optimism there. The thing is yes, Unity still has injury issues. There's no getting around that. They've lost a couple of key players pretty much for the season. That's going to hurt. Covenant is a good team. They're going to run the ball right at them. You know, the Covenant, their best running back is that same back we saw a couple of years ago against Unity in the state championships games. That's a kid that's getting looks at from major schools, and of course, major schools don't often look at ICSGA players. If Unity can control that running game, they have a chance to win. My problem is and it's not knocking Unity. The injuries have taken their toll. The kids they got playing are great players. They're going to get better. They're not going to win this game. And it may be bad, I don't know, but I do go against Unity. Not that I don't like the Lions, trust me, I love them to death, but I don't think they're going to win this game.
And the thing about it is, when in this particular league, I mean, I know this can be the same thing in lots of leagues, but when you've got one key player like that is that kind of caliber player, he really can mean the difference in every game, for that matter.
Without a doubt.
I'm with you on this one.
We'll take Nick Chubb away from Cedartown, and how good a season has Cedartown had. I mean, it's not only ICSGA, but GHSA, GISA, college football, pro football, you name it. When one of your key players goes down, it's awfully tough. Moving on, Mount Zion at Tryon. The Bulldogs, 2 losses in a row, looking to right the ship. I'm just going to go ahead and jump out there. Tryon is not as bad as the last 2 losses look. They're a pretty good team. They had this problem midway through the season last year, rallied late and made a run through the playoffs. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but Tryon is too good. They're going to beat Mount Zion at home. Matt?
Yeah, I mean, Mount Zion last year, they proved that they could be a team that could, cause an upset. I don't think it happens in this game, and I think it's because of the fact that Tryon has struggled the last couple of weeks, and I may even have said this last week leading up to the Darlington game. But if they weren't fired up last week, they are sure as heck are going to be fired up for this game. So
yeah.
I quite frankly think that at home they're going to take things out on Mount Zion after their disappointing last couple of games. So I go with Tryon as well.
Definitely so. Moving to Region 4A, Region 7 4A if I remember correctly. Cedartown traveling to Pickens, and before everybody gets starts waving the banner too big for Cedartown. Remember, last week's game, the score looked bad, was actually a close game. Cedartown had to have some defensive heroics late in the game to make sure they won that game. Chubb had about 170 yards. Cedartown's quarterback had a very good game, which is a positive. Look, Cedartown should beat Pickens County, but Cedartown should have beaten Pickens County last year. The thing with Cedartown is the defense has got to get better, but the other big thing about it is teams in the first half are controlling the game against Cedartown. It happened last week against River Ridge. It happened a few weeks ago with Pepperell, where they basically said, they own time of possession in the first half. The problem with that means if the other team's offense stays on the field, that means Nick Chubb, who plays both ways, plays a lot of defensive snaps. When that happens, his yardage starts going down. You saw it against Pepperell. You saw it last week against River Ridge. Cedartown has got to get the other team, has got to keep their offense on the field. I think they're going to do it, but I think this game could be close. I go with the Bulldogs. Matt?
Yeah, a few years ago, you wouldn't even be worried about it in this situation because Pickens didn't have that great of a football team. But we talk about teams improving. Cedartown's one of those teams. We've talked about their defense being better. We've talked about them being a little bit more than one-dimensional than they've been, even though obviously Nick Chubb's their guy.
Yeah.
But, this could be a decent matchup. If Cedartown gets past this test, they may have a chance to go ahead and run the table and win every game this season, which I know a lot of people would love to see, and also love to have the opportunity to see them go deep into the playoffs just to see what Nick Chubb can do.
Yeah.
I think they win this game. I think it might be close throughout the first half, as you mentioned, but I think at the end of the game, you're really going to start to see Cedartown to start to pull away in this game. And this is not going to be a game where you start to see things really unravel for Cedartown like it was, this time of the year last year. So I'm with Cedartown in this game. There's a lot of motivation there.
One last game to pick. Haralson County at Rockmart. I'm just going to go ahead out and say it. Rockmart's going to lose. I think Rockmart can't avoid mistakes. They just can't. Last week, 5 turnovers, that's the ball game against a team they should have beaten. You look at Rockmart, I'm coming down really hard on Rockmart. The thing is, fix the mistakes. We've said it all year. Turnovers, penalties, and mistakes, any type of mistake. Rockmart cannot seem to avoid them. Haralson County is not a great team, but neither is Rockmart. I'm going, like I said, I think Haralson County wins. Matt?
I disagree with you pretty big in this one because I had the opportunity to see Haralson County play against Coosa. Talk about a team that makes mistakes.
Yeah.
They were down 40-0 after the first quarter. And the main part of that is they turned the ball over 4 times in the first quarter.
Yeah.
It was ugly. And so this is going to be an ugly game. You got two teams that make tons of mistakes. I would imagine this is going to be a sloppy game. After saying that, watch it be the cleanest played game of the season.
Exactly.
But I don't think it's going to be. At the end of the day, though, I think that Rockmart's got some more talent on their team, a little bit more speed. I think they'll win this game, and it may even be not even close game.
Wow.
We'll
I
see.
can't believe you're going to be that wrong on the last pick. Really? No. In all honesty, the reason I go with Haralson County, they've had 2 wins. Rockmart's only had 1, and most of their games really haven't been close because of mistakes and turnovers. And guess what? Friday night, watch Prep Central. Go to PrepCentralOnline.com. You'll see if he's right, if I'm right, if you're right on our live updated scoreboard covering all the games. And of course, stick with us. Later that evening, we'll have photos, videos, articles on all the games. And this on the Gridiron Central scoreboard show that evening, I will break everything down. I'll give you all the scores. I'll give you the highlights, tell you who won, why they won, and what we may be looking ahead to next week. And of course, don't forget, next week, the next preview show. We'll see you there again. For Kevin Myrick, Matt Davis, I'm Jim Alred saying we'll see you on the sideline right after the fist bump.